Hey everybody, welcome back. I am Damian Holbrook from TV Guide Magazine and TV Insider, and you just finished watching the Mythic Quest quarantine episode, and I am sitting here with the cast and creators of the show. So let's introduce our panel, as it were. First, we've got Rob McElhenney, creator, co-executive producer, and star.
Hi.
Then we got Megan Ganz, co-executive producer and co-creator, correct?
Yep, hi.
Then we've got Charlotte Nicdao, who plays Poppy. Jessie Ennis, who plays Joe. F. Mary Abraham, who plays C.W. Longbottom, one of the best names ever. Mr. Danny Mark Pudi, who plays Brad.
Hey.
Ashley Burch, who plays Rachel.
Hello.
And Imani Hakim, who plays Dana. You guys, congratulations. You actually created a show in quarantine that was great. So let's talk about this, because I know I spoke with you, Rob, right after this premiered. You guys got this all done in 3 weeks.
Yeah, from conception to delivery was about 3 weeks.
And how did even the ball start rolling on this?
It started in discussions with Meg and David, and we were just trying to figure out how to get everybody paid. Basically, we just wanted to get everybody back to work, the crew, the cast. And we were just trying to pitch on how we would go about doing that. And we weren't 100% sure that we could do it any other way than shooting an actual episode. So that's what we did. So,
Megan, when you guys started talking about this, was there ever a discussion or an idea of doing something that didn't address COVID at all?
Well, no, not really. I mean, it seemed like the only thing that was on everybody's mind, and the show is very much grounded in real life. So it would feel disingenuous from a show perspective to make an episode where our characters weren't dealing with everything that the audience was dealing with. I think we talked for a time about maybe just jumping into a sort of season 3, start talking about like more of a writer's room thing. But then we just thought, why keep going down a path where we haven't even shot the episodes for season 2? And instead of just engaging with the moment that we're in right now. And that was what all of our conversations were anyway about. Rob and David and I we were talking about how the effect of the quarantine was like emotionally what it was doing to us. So yeah, as soon as we started talking about that and realizing how many funny things there are with like us doing this remote, working, and we just thought, well, this is just, our show seems like it was made to make an episode about this.
Literally like the perfect show for this kind of story, like the perfect show. Like this is the entire group that would make sense to be living on a Zoom experience. But you'd completed your first season. You were in your hiatus anyway. There's a lot of shows that did wrap. What was the idea? Because you didn't need to make an episode. It wasn't like you were back in production. So it was really just like working with people?
We were back in production. Yeah, we were shooting the first episode of season 2 when we shut down.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the crew, basically we just furloughed everybody on a Thursday, and then that was it. We just thought maybe we would be down for a few weeks or a few months. Nobody anticipated being down for 6 months. So we just decided at that point, like, let's do something about it.
And I'm assuming,
I mean, the actresses all got their hair done for the shoot, so we were like, we gotta take advantage of it.
You know what? You're right. Like everyone was fresh from their cuts. But and the easy thing, I guess, this is probably the easiest episode to schedule because nobody was going anywhere.
Damian, scheduling was one of the hardest parts of the entire endeavor.
Really?
There was nothing that was easy about it, except for once we got rolling, then things got really easy because there was only one camera angle. But scheduling was really difficult because you have to take into account all the things that you wouldn't normally do. What time of day is best to shoot in your house, because that's when the sunlight's coming into that particular window. When is your neighbor's dog barking? From what hours to what hours? Murray's on a different coast. All of these things actually played in significantly.
So was equipment shipped to your places? Did you guys get extra lighting, anything set up, or was it really just your phones and some smart window treatments?
Oh no.
Yeah, box.
It was much more complex than that. I mean, for one thing, I don't know a damn thing about the technological aspect of this and I learned. But
Right.
they shipped a whole package of stuff with explicit instructions. And, you know, like I said before, I wet my pants and then I got to work. It was thrilling because
I need that. I need that to be the title of your autobiography. And so then I have to ask Jessie. Joe has a picture of Ronald Reagan behind her. Was that a prop set to you?
That was entirely Jessie's idea.
That was because I was watching it again. I'm like, did she have that in her own home? Because I also have a lot of questions about the amount of exercise equipment Rob has in his home.
That's legitimate. That nothing was shipped in. That is just Rob McElhenney on display.
So, yeah, that's a real good look. That's a real good look into my fragile psyche. That's for sure.
So I can only imagine. Also, you have some incredible bloopers.
Yeah.
Just like, because the amount of wiggle space you had for things to go wrong when you're filming this stuff, will we ever see the stuff that didn't make it into the episode?
We sure will. Yeah, I've actually seen a number of pieces that are being released where it just gets into the behind the scenes stuff. And, you know, just executing those Rube Goldberg machines alone could be a 5 to 10 minute comedy piece. But yeah, you'll start to see that stuff.
Who designed the Rube Goldberg?
Well, that was done with production. It was in tandem with production design, property, the props department, and our special effects team, and who was led by Jonathan. And he really, as we went through and talked about each individual piece, he would record them. He would build them and then record them, and then send me the recordings, and I would go over them with Meg and David, and we would talk about each individual one and how it would connect into each individual screen. And then they were broken down, cleansed, then packaged, sent to the actors' homes where they were open, cleansed, set up, and then everybody had a video that would explain to them how to recreate them. And I'll speak to only my own, but I know that everybody had varying degrees of difficulty. And that was a lot of the behind the scenes, because some people got shipped ones that were incredibly intricate and difficult, and there were a few that were just like, I don't know, a ball rolling across the screen.
Imani, you just got potato chips, correct?
No, I had the easiest probably as far as the ending of the Rube Goldberg, but my Rube Goldberg piece was massive. It literally took up my entire room. You just couldn't see any of that on screen.
But Imani, didn't we wind up not even using that? We just wound up with Chris off screen. Yeah.
My partner Chris ended up just doing the work of taking the place of the Rube Goldberg and making the umbrella come in from the side screen.
Incredible. Well, let's talk. So, Rob, you mentioned, and Megan, the emotional impact of this quarantine, especially at the beginning. You guys really tapped into that what Poppy goes through, and what we also see Ian going through, is that like a lot of people were going through that isolation sickness, almost that lack of self-care, that fear, that shutting down. Because it was so close to the start of it, how well aware of that were you? Like, did you realize that was something a lot of people were going through?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that. We were in it for 3 months by the time we started talking about this. So, right, Meg, or 2 months?
Well, it was like a month and a half. It doesn't
it felt like 3 months.
It doesn't take Rob long to I felt like both of us, we got into wherever emotional state we were going to be in for the whole of quarantine within like 4 days. Because like we are just like, we were all geared up. You have to understand, like, we were about to go into production, which is 7 to 7 every single day. And for Rob and David and I, 7 to 9 or later. I mean, it's just like it consumes your whole life. So I was like really in the mindset of being like, okay, work. And then all of a sudden it was like cut off completely. And so it didn't take that long for us to have the ramifications of that hit our life. And I think that we just took from like an extension of what we were going through. So I think Rob is a person that he gets really active. Like, he became more active during the quarantine. He just had more projects and more phone calls and more everything, more meetings, just setting up stuff. And I was sort of the opposite, which is it was like yanked away from me, and it sent me into like a sort of depressive place where it was like I felt like I couldn't write and I felt like I couldn't produce anything and I couldn't do anything. I had no energy. So I think somewhere in between those two things was where we realized like that could be Poppy and I, and the struggles that they're having, which compromise the continuum of I'd assume a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And Charlotte, did you realize coming into this workplace comedy, that you were going to do so much emotional heavy lifting, especially in the back end of the season?
Yeah, I remember shooting like the later episodes of season 1, and like there's a scene where I'm just like yelling at Rob in a parking lot, and I remember that day just being like, I remember when we started shooting this and it was a comedy for me, and I feel like every day I'm coming in and just being really angry. Little did I know
what was waiting for you. And
yeah.
Who was it actually at the door?
It was my husband, Baden.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked about the idea of Rob actually coming over to shoot the scene, but I think in the end, even though we found it pretty easy to justify why Ian would physically go and visit Poppy in the state that she was in and why that was important, but we couldn't really justify Rob actually coming to my house and breaking quarantine for a TV show. And luckily, my husband was very helpful despite his misgivings.
Well, interestingly enough, you can actually see the frame where we got the idea, because if you look at Megan's frame right now, yep, there we go. So you see the door in the right hand or the left hand corner of her screen over her right shoulder. So we were sitting here discussing the episode over Zoom, and when we were talking about how we were going to get Ian and Poppy together without you really being able to tell that it was not me, it just became abundantly clear that if you just had that door open and you stayed in this frame, that we could kind of catch a moment of intimacy from a distance, and then maybe that would even be more effective.
Nice. And do the actors all get like location fees?
Get into the production of the whole thing, Damian, all right? Because
I mean, now, like, on the map,
don't give anybody any ideas.
Yeah. Well, for Ashley and Imani, so much of your characters' arcs, it depends on the two of them being together. Like the energy and the chemistry that you guys have, we get it from watching you guys together, yet somehow you nailed it on Zoom, that when they're communicating, they're still connected like that. How was that for you guys, having to create this new chemistry virtually?
Well, it's interesting because at least for me, I'll say it was extremely natural. I mean, we've also, as a cast, gotten extremely close. So I talk to most of these people constantly. So, and through this venue now, since we don't get to see each other in person. So the kind of thing that's amazing about when you love your cast members and you form those connections is that you can feel it even virtually, even when you're not in the same space. I remember Rob actually remarking on how interesting it was that Craig, Imani, and I all had chemistry through screens. And I think it's just a testament to the cast that we have, and then also the bond that we've formed over working together.
Imani? You guys couldn't see each other, right? Just a question. Yeah, you couldn't see each other.
Yeah, and I was gonna add that luckily we were able to see each other, so it wasn't difficult to just feed off of what was given to you on screen, So it was just easy for us to display that connection.
Right. And so in rewatching part of the series again, I've come to realize that Joe and Brad are actually the villains of this story. And what I feel is going to end up is that there's going to be literally a blood ocean, and it will be because of Joe. Like Brad may push her to that. So Danny, can we please talk about the fact that this guy has the darkest heart here? And you only really see how demented he is in this quarantine episode.
Demented, or just he knows who he is. I think
he wants someone's essence. That is master villain talk.
Who doesn't want people's essences? Yeah, that's one of the draws of being on the show is I get to play a really fun character who is just very honest. I think Brad would just like to collect human hair. And it's just nice to play someone with a different perspective. But Yeah, I think Brad and Joe definitely see something in each other, which is a joy of watching predator prey videos. It's it's nice to find someone, a kindred spirit, who likes to make people feel uncomfortable and who's also just so secure with himself, which is really what it is. So it's been such a joy, and to be able to make something during this time was it was just such a gift.
And Jessie, the way you address the striking employees while David is getting fired, when will we find out exactly where her loyalties truly lie? Because they seem like she almost has a fatal attraction to Ian, but she actually would really work well as David's assistant.
I think we're going to see a lot more of that in season 2 from all the episodes I've already read.
Oh, don't worry, those are all being rewritten.
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
and F. Mary, you mentioned it earlier. You're the closest thing on this panel to a boomer. How did you have you ever been on set or doing these scripts and thinking like, how did I end up here talking about video games and French fries?
First of all, you may call me F. All right, that's all right. F. Murray is not important.
We don't even get to do that.
Nice.
Congratulations, Damian.
Listen, the biggest loss, as far as I'm concerned, about not shooting the second season thus far, is that the first season, which was a big success, allowed us to really get connected with the writers and the producers and the other actors, so that the second season was much richer and much more complex. And that's what I really look forward to doing, was the expansion of each of our characters. It's an extraordinary event. You know, I'm not the first now to mention how close this cast is. And I'm sure that in your position, you always hear this kind of crap from all the casts. Everybody loves each other. But in this case, it's absolutely true. I'm telling you, it's a rare and fabulous thing, and I really miss them. I want to work with them. I want to hug them. You know.
We miss you too, Murray.
Well,
We miss you too, but no more hugs. I am not hugging you.
Elbow
I'm
bumps.
not going to be responsible. Yeah, elbow
Yeah.
bumps. Elbow bumps.
F, my friend
We'll get
F.
close.
You do touch on something, because this is SeriesFest, and the great thing about series is that when you do go into that second season, you've established the universe, you've established the relationships, and that's where the writers really start to get to play with the characters and expand their worlds. With you guys having seen at least your first episode back for the second season, where did you think your characters were headed? Because
That's none of your
things will be rewritten.
That's none of your business.
Nice.
You
Hey,
have
Murray.
to watch it. You have to watch it.
Well, for Rob and Megan, are you going to have to
Yeah.
are you going to change course for where these characters go now? Because like you said, it's rooted
No.
in real life.
I think by the end of the first season, my feeling is we were cooking with gas. Like the actors had come into their own, like, as Murray said, there was more dialogue with the producers. Like, we were adjusting storylines on the fly to like make use of certain talents that the actors were bringing to us that we didn't know, obviously, until you get on set and you see those things. So going into season 2, where we have generally a better idea of what's in everybody's toolbox, which great for us is a lot of tools. So as we sat down for the second season, we were like, great, we have all these different dynamics. Also, there's combinations of characters you've never seen before, because we only did 10 episodes in the first season, including the quarantine episode. So we're getting to do all those fun things where you're like pairing people up in different ways. And we're really excited about what we have for season 2.
That was something I wanted to ask about, was the combinations, because you set up the dynamics of various characters, but like for the actors, who are you hoping to get to play a little bit more with in the second season?
Brad, Danny, Pudi. That's all I wanted. I mean, I love you all. But I need more time with Danny. We've got good stuff going on.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't get to hang out with the gals very much in season 1. So I'm
Oh, yeah,
kind of
that too.
looking But I do also, I feel like, I mean, Imani and Ashley already sort of know how to work with each other as friends and professionals. But I have a feeling that if I get put in scenes with any of them, I will just turn into a giggling mess.
I want a whole bottle episode that's the 4 girls stuck in the elevator.
Yes.
Bechdel Quest.
A second
Bechdel
that.
Quest.
Okay, so talk about a bottle episode. Rob, you directed the bottle episode this season, and then you directed this. So none of you guys had actually worked with him when he directed that episode. How was he as a director on Quarantine?
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
They've been very careful.
Yes.
It was good. It was good.
Oh, we love
No, he's great.
I'll turn my audio
all
off.
of
No, I mean, Rob's always. Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I think you'll see it in the behind the scenes. We have like footage and photos of Rob just cheesing from ear to ear. He was a great director, and I mean he's very hands-on, but also very open and fluid, and yeah, he's great. It's a safe space.
Yeah, I feel like it's a testament to Rob's skill as a director and as an actor that a lot of the scenes that I was doing in that episode were very emotional, and with Rob as my scene partner and also directing me, and it was a completely seamless process. Like there was no point in doing those scenes where I felt jolted in any way.
Right. And F, when they sent you the text, like how well versed are you in all of this now? Now that you've had, a season under your belt, are you a gamer? Have you picked up any games?
It's all a guessing game. I'm still hung up on pinball machines. What can I tell you, man?
Old school, I like it.
I have a pinball machine.
Nice. And so that's one of the questions that we got from the fans is who's the biggest gamers? And during this time, have any of you found a new game to become obsessed with?
Well,
Overcooked.
Well,
But Ashley wins.
Yes, Ashley.
Ash, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess am I the biggest gamer in the cast?
Yes.
I guess so, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like everyone else on the planet, I got obsessed with Animal Crossing. And it was a sad day when I stopped. I've since stopped playing it. It's sort of run its course.
What do you mean? I'm still playing it.
I don't know how you're still playing it. I'm really
playing it because I play it every day, almost every day with my mom in Australia.
which is the cutest thing I've ever heard.
She really wants to visit your island too, Ashley.
And it's disgusting because I haven't been there in like 4 weeks. I'm gonna have to go and weed my island so your mom can visit it.
The summer weeds are beautiful.
Oh, are they?
God.
Okay, well maybe I won't.
I have a real house that I have to take care of and an area outside.
All right.
I got real weed.
So for me, doing chores on a video game doesn't really resonate.
Right.
But the animals are
Weird
cute.
flex.
That's the whole point.
Well, you guys are cute. I can say that with you.
Danny, do you play anything?
I've been playing Link's Awakening quite a bit.
Ooh.
Me and my son are playing Switch, so he's playing Breath of the Wild and schooling me in it. He's teasing me and taunting me. I'm hiding him from him right now because I'm scared of my kids. And again, this was one of the great joys of this whole experience is that I didn't have to teach adverbs for at least 2 weeks. I got to set up a Rube Goldberg, which was also awesome because it showed up at our door and my kids discovered it. And they were like, someone just dropped off this like magic machine. And it's just like this, it looks like cornhole, like a new form of cornhole with golf balls all over it. And I said I had to go get to work, and I brought it upstairs to my office and shut the door immediately. And my kids were like, what are you doing in there? Working! So thanks, Megan. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
Nice. And Imani,
What was the question? I don't remember.
did you find yourself playing any new games? Did you get obsessed with any new games during quarantine?
Oh, any new games? Nothing new. I've actually been revisiting some games. I started playing Tekken 7 again because it's one of my favorites from my childhood, and The Sims. So it's because I couldn't get on the whole Switch with the Animal Crossing. I was like, what's the closest thing that I can do? It's Sims. So I'm taking care of a household. Yeah.
And Rob?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to get an early copy of The Last of Us 2. which is a game that the first version of it I was obsessed with, and this one is equally both horrifying and engaging, and really resonant on an emotional level that and a connection I've never had with a video game in my entire life.
And also, so Ubisoft is one of the partners on the production, correct? Is there any talk of actually making Mythic Quest a game?
Well, the thing is, to make a game of this level would cost $100 million. So I can say that the production of the television show is significantly less than $100 million. So I don't know if the gaming, if they want to invest that amount of money into something, but anything shy of that would be kind of a crappy game, and I just feel like it would be a money grab and not fair to the fans.
But if Poppy can code Blood Ocean overnight, I mean, somebody would be able to put this together.
That's a TV show.
I'm gonna get to work right away. Let's on it, guys.
That's a TV show and a person who doesn't exist.
Yes. So Cable Rose wants to know, where did episode 5, which is Dark Quiet Death, where did that come from? Because once you go back and rewatch the series, you see all these little subtle nods to that.
Yeah, go ahead, Meg.
Well, we started talking about very early on in the show doing a standalone episode that took place within our universe, but not with our characters, just because we had noticed and loved in other shows the inventiveness that streaming comedies are getting into, as far as like format, changing up things. Like we had noticed that happening in a few other shows and had liked it, and thought that because we're dealing with video games in general, and we're specializing in the dev teams, but we have an opportunity to comment more largely on video games as a whole, and people maybe haven't been doing that in narrative television so much. We wanted to reserve this space to do that. And originally the episode started as a commentary on marketing, on video game marketing, and the evolution of video game marketing over the years. And it sort of, as we got through that, and we thought, oh, that would be cool to watch one game go through these various levels of marketing, where it's a PC game that nobody's ever heard of and is advertised in magazines, to all of a sudden having TV commercials which show things like blowing up monsters that you can't really do in the game, and sort of the marketing taking over for what the creative is there. And after we had those conversations for a while, it was interesting, but ultimately we didn't think like the audience would engage with just like, why did they care about going through this series of things? So then we came upon the idea of having the core of the episode be about a relationship, and testing a relationship against the kind of concessions that you have to make in order to have any business, including a video game, be successful. And once we got into that, then it very quickly, it was beautifully written by Katie McElhenney, and Rob directed it. And so I don't think any of us thought it would quite get to the level that it did get as far as like impact. But once we had been writing that, we sort of reverse engineered little beats of Roscoe moments and things throughout the season, so that we could, and that's actually, I'll say, one of the great things about doing a streaming platform is you write all the 10 episodes at the beginning before you start shooting them. So you can do things like that. You can have a vision for series arcs in the way that you can't necessarily on a network show, that you just have to keep rolling because you're doing 24 episodes. And so.
And it's a beautiful episode. And it is like, it's such a great reminder of what you can do now on television. And I think, like, especially Rob and Danny, having worked on network television, or at least like traditional, like 30-minute comedies, you can be flexible with the running time. You can work with totally different casts. Like, it's a really interesting approach. And I'm very interested to hear, and hopefully you'll tell us, what do you have in the pipeline for season 2? Do you have competitors lined up? Because so far, like, again, the villains in-house are Joe and Brad, and then you have Pudi. But what's going on with like the outside, competitors?
We don't really address, well, first of all, you tune into the show to find out. Okay. But I will say that we experimented a little bit with that last year with this outside competitor. But I think what we find is more interesting and most fun is finding the the relationships with and the dynamics within the confines of the office as being the drivers for story, and looking at conflicts that are just a little bit more nuanced and insidious, and that makes it wind up feeling a little bit more real and true, because as the episode of 105 and the evolution of that kind of demonstrates, like at first we had this outside villain, which was the marketing team that wound up like destroying this game. But the more we were talking about it, the more we realized like there's no outside influence that can destroy anything. Ultimately, if you are the creator of something, then it's incumbent upon you to protect that thing. And sometimes protecting that thing might mean that you're leveraged into a position where you have to quit that thing because it's no longer something you can control. Nevertheless, while you have the ability to control it, then that is your job to make sure that that thing is not corrupted. And so that becomes a much more nuanced story. So you're watching a relationship be destroyed, not by any outside influence, but from within, which is, we think, ultimately just a more interesting way to tell a story. So I guess that kind of thing will translate into season 2, where you'll watch our characters hopefully destroy and then rebuild, and then destroy and rebuild their own relationships.
All right. I have to wrap you guys, but first everyone wanted to know, did David Hornsby really shave his eyebrow and mustache?
Yes, he did.
Oh
Yes,
my
he did.
God. How long did it take? Has it grown back?
Who can tell with that hair? I mean,
it's very fine.
blonde.
One of our problems was that you couldn't almost see the difference because his hair is so fine and light. So we had to put makeup on the other, or he had to put makeup on the other one to darken it so that you could even tell the difference. But yes, he really
sent
did.
a message. You remember he sent a selfie and he was like, "Hey guys, what do you think? What's funnier, 1 or 2?" And I looked at it and I was like, 1 or 2 what? I don't know.
And for the cast, I know obviously you miss each other the most, but like, what's the one thing you can't wait to get back on set for?
Oh God, the fun. The fun. It's really hard to believe that this work is so much fun. Am I right? Oh, am I right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true.
Excellent. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck. Congratulations. The first season was fantastic. This episode was just out of the ballpark. So good. And so, now you just have to keep topping yourselves. Can you do that?
We'll try.
All right. Cool. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, SeriesFest.
Thanks, Damian.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.